Ahoy! This is take number 7 of this video in an attempt to not make it insanely long. Today we need to talk about the state of New World and what that means for the future. So, what can we see here? The player numbers are back on New World database. Peak players on Avalon are 1,300. Every other server is below 1,000. My server Utopia is around 700 players at peak. That is obviously a terrible state for a game like New World, which requires you to have a lot of players to even do a lot of the activities, like for example wars. Steam charts look similar. 900,000 used to be the peak. Now we're at 44,000. This is not a result of Lost Ark, by the way. It did give them a little more of an extra dip, but even before Lost Ark, there was a steady decline since last month. It's basically, numbers have halved since then, to the surprise of very few people, I would say. New World has unfortunately not got enough late game content over the patches that we had since the game's launch. I was worried that this might happen because initially we just had 2 dungeons and not too many PvP modes. And yeah, that seems to be the outcome that we are looking at now, where we're just losing tons and tons of players. A drop-off in a new MMO is always to be expected because no MMO can like appeal to everyone, and you know, when the hype dies down, people leave. But this type of drop-off is not necessarily what you would expect. A lot of MMOs launch relatively poorly. They have like initial peak and then go down and then eventually kind of catch themselves again, but that's no guarantee either. So to very briefly demonstrate what happened, for example, one issue that we always had is communication issues. Like one of the really weird changes were the mutations, which made a lot of people unhappy for various reasons. Essentially, they were time gated, but then they weren't even time gated because you could buy keys, so they were actually money gated. So that led to a lot of frustration because the most geared players with the most money would get even more geared, and everyone else would be playing like catch up with them. Very, very strange system. Difficulty was also very weirdly scaled. You can actually do most of the mutation without even getting ward gear for them, as long as your gear score is high enough. Instead of making them like actually challenging, they just decided to scale the health and damage with gear score almost exclusively, and that was it. Now, people are asking if the same mutation comes back around, the same like dungeon comes back around, like Lazarus 3 weeks later. Do I still keep the mutation level that I had? Because obviously I've invested a lot of my orbs into that. Community service answered, yeah, give us some time to check that out. 2 days later, they come back. Actually, your mutation resets every time. Led to a lot of frustration. Couple hours later, oh, actually, the progress does not reset. So completely contradicting answers here. The second answer being the actual confirmed by death one. You gotta wonder, right? You gotta wonder, how is this possible? How do we get someone asking, getting the reply 2 days later? So they really, really confirmed that with the team, and then that just being completely wrong information. Did they just change like on a whim? Like this is a last second change or something? We don't know. But this type of communication issue happened a lot, and it's obviously something very frustrating. And on the topic of frustration, we can also look at, for example, the patch, which comes with, this is the upcoming patch, not the mini patch, but it comes with some interesting changes, right? It comes with some OPR changes that encourage people to play that, and PvP more on that. It comes with some weapon changes, dodge changes that may lead to new mechanics that could actually be really cool once they're polished, once there are no issues anymore. But at the same time, they feel like these changes were like made with what was happening like 2 months ago. We're seeing significant changes to fire staff, which is like to be expected. But then, for example, we're seeing changes to Great Axe, to Graphwell, which already received some nerfs before. Like the weapon was already significantly nerfed. And Graphwell, I think, deserved changes at some point down the road, but it was really not the priority, in my opinion, in the current patch. Like I played on the most competitive Australasian server basically, and in one of the 2 top companies, and we were using Great Axes still, but it most certainly wasn't our priority when it came to, like, for example, bursting. When it came to bursting, the priority was drop down an Oblivion, drop down a Scream, and then have the Graphwells for follow-up. So the Void Blade was usually, or the Void Gauntlet specifically, was like the center focal point of how do we get AoE damage off. For chasing backline, the Great Axe wasn't even used much anymore, as much as that was done in the first place. Yeah, weapons like Ice Gauntlet stood out a lot more. Getting some nerfs that it needs, like Ice Spikes being nerfed, Ice Storm being fixed finally. This was reported way back in the day. But then things like Ice Shower, which is like, it's so buggy, just barely touched. Like there's nothing regarding the cleanse issues that the ability has, nothing regarding the inconsistency that it has with leaps and escapes. And then more importantly, weapons like Rapier, extremely strong among healers and like used by every other player in OPR. Basically not touched, nothing done to riposte here. Void Gauntlet, not touched, and I'm a Void Gauntlet player, okay? Like, I know how strong this weapon is. It's not like some bias from me saying, you know, I use Great Axe or whatever. I use Void Gauntlet, Ice Gauntlet at the moment. And I'm telling you outright, these weapons desperately need significant nerfs, and they're not happening in this patch. So, yeah, it's just like, you look at that and you wonder what, like, not so much. I don't think the devs are unaware of what needs to be done. Maybe they are in some parts. Maybe I'll do like some feedback for them before. I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. But I think they're just like still playing catch up. I think like a lot of them are still like new to the team. They got hired. They need to learn the new engines and so on and so on. And they're basically just playing catch up. And we look at the current patch here, and we see the same thing. Like, for example, the Absolute Terror as a Void Gauntlet that has the Keen perk twice, and now it's been replaced with the Refreshing perk. Only that in the patch that didn't actually happen, and still has Keen twice. And the Refreshing perk is not a weapon perk, it's an armor perk. It shouldn't be on Absolute Terror. Maybe they meant Refreshing moves, I don't know, maybe they just forget the word here, but we can't find out because they didn't actually fix it properly, so you see how this goes. Then the other fixes that came in this like patch in between are mostly just fixes that were from bugs that were introduced in the previous patch. So the pace at which we're seeing changes correlates with this. I think I was naive to expect that we would see pretty significant like content in the first half year. I thought we'd have I thought there would already be like a pre-planned roadmap essentially, and they'd have a bunch of content like lined up based on the data minings that we saw. There were like, I think 9 dungeons, a bunch of arenas, many of which were tested in the beta, like PvE arenas. There was also data mining for PvP arenas, like various modes. Seems like those were all just like early test concepts more so than actual like planned things. And I think that like threw me personally off, because I was initially concerned with the late game content from like when I played the closed beta to 60, but I figured, you know, when release rolls around, 1 or 2 months in, they're gonna roll out the first patch, the second patch, new dungeons, etc., and that's gonna be fine. And that's just not what happened at all. So yeah, can act all shocked now or whatever. It's just not gonna happen at the moment. And even like, if you look at the last now, I mean, it's like 7 days. Like even the Lost Ark release, it had an impact, but it's not like it was responsible for shattering the game, right? It's just to demonstrate that, yeah, the game was very much on its way out for the last month already. If we look at that, oh, they're not giving me the month here, yeah. And then if you go further, like you can see how it's like consistently dropping down. So yeah. Which brings me to the overall issue for me here, right? There's nothing to do for me in New World except like log on for wars, unless I want to chase the ultra best in slot gear, which I don't care for, because I think the item system is pretty frustrating anyways, with how impossible it is to basically get like a lot of things through Watermark, which I was hoping, like, you know, I wanted to get good armor drops like I would expect in an MMO, but nope, basically every good armor piece you can get, it's just crafted. So yeah, I don't see any reason to invest time into the game at this point. And I have a strong feeling that it will take a very long time for the devs to get to a point where the game can reach a larger audience. I don't know if they will aim to do that. I hope they will. I hope they don't just, you know, settle with Lost Ark or whatever. Because I think there's still a lot of potential in New World, the combat system and so on. But only time can tell what the plans are. And I don't expect the game to make a significant comeback for if we speak of very, very optimistic, maybe half a year, more realistic, maybe a year or longer, maybe even 2 years, who knows, if it makes a comeback. Just based on the fact that it'll take a very long time to really get all the fixes that they need, unless they suddenly like massively pick up the pace compared to what they're doing at the moment, which I don't really expect. Like, why would they suddenly change pace when this is the pace they've been going at the entire time? So based on that, for me, that unfortunately means that I can't focus my content on New World anymore. I may return to it if there is more content in the game again, but for now, I will make videos about other things. I will not be making videos about Lost Ark because that doesn't have Australian servers, and yeah, I can't be bothered playing that on high ping. There is going to be Tiny Tina's Wonderlands soon, and I'm a huge Borderlands fan. I've played multiple Borderlands games on my channel already. I played Borderlands 3. I played a little bit of pre-sequel as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. That is what I want to do. And yeah, that is what you probably see in the foreseeable future. I know some people will ask about Smite as well. I don't know if that's going to come back. I'm not sure yet. That's not like what I'm planning on for now, at least. Maybe it will. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just dip my toes into season 9. But that's for the future to decide, essentially. What I can say at this point is New World, for me, is done for now, sadly. It makes me very unhappy. I really would have liked to stick with this game, but it's just not feasible to do much about the game when there's nothing to do in the game. And for me, the next destination will likely be Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, which I'm very much looking forward to. And if you're an MMO player, you might do that as well, for a variety of reasons. With that, thank you guys very much for watching. I'd love to see you for the next video. I completely understand if that's not for you. If you say, no, I was only here for New World and New World's over, so I'm gone. I get that. In that case, I thank you for the time that you spent here with me, and I hope you enjoyed it. In the other case, I'll see you whenever the next one comes out, which should be very soon. But I wanted to give this some closure first. Thanks for watching. Duke Sloth, out.